for joining us. I think to kick things off, right? New season, new legend, of course. We've already announced Fuse. You guys have seen his lore piece. We've had their CG trailer go live, our gameplay trailer go live. So by now, if you haven't seen, go ahead and click on the links and check out all the stuff on our YouTube channel. But we're going to go into some detail here on some of stuff about Fuse. So, hey, Sam, why don't you kick us off here and talk a little bit about sort of his personality and fantasy that you guys are going for this year?
Sure. So Fuse is our walk and talk an AC/DC song. I feel like that's the best way to describe him. That conjures a particular image. He's the personification of badass, someone you want to hang out with, someone you want to listen to as he tells his tall tales. Just someone who exudes joy and good times. A man with a particular love of things that go boom, and he's not above using a pun or two, but that might be my influence.
That's always one of my favorite parts, is where playtesting and characters coming together is the dialogue lines that start to come up with pings and the banter between the characters. And yeah, the stuff you did with Fuse is awesome, hilarious character. OT, you've done some of the work on his kit and design. So talk a little bit about his explosive kit, speaking of which, that he comes with, and how he's going to work for players.
Yeah, sure. So, Sam wrote a very multifaceted character with some nuance, but from the gameplay side, we kind of wanted to lean into the guy who likes to make things explode. So that's pretty much what his kit is all about. We'll start with his passive. It's called Grenadier. He's able to stack 2 grenades per inventory slot instead of just the 1. He's also able to use his mechanical arm to fire grenades faster and further than other legends. This ability was actually one of the few things to survive the first prototype of Fuse. It was compelling enough to build a character around, because it made both you play differently. You would be able to sort of control squad movements from long distances using explosions in ways that you couldn't quite do with something like a sniper. And also it would change the way that your teammates would play, because they were constantly looking for grenades for you, which was kind of nice. That distance aspect is also something that we carried on to his other abilities as well, just because we found it so compelling. His tactical is called Knuckle Cluster. He fires a sticky grenade that explodes into a bunch of cluster bombs that then explode into more cluster bombs, and covers an area in many explosions. May or may not be inspired by a certain North Star Titan weapon. Each of the explosions does low damage individually, but getting caught in that is not a great time. So it's a pretty good area denial tool. It's pretty good at getting people forced out of cover. It's also got pretty good utility. It's able to blow up doors pretty quickly. You can do something like take a door, have the first explosion blow it up, and then have the rest of the explosions kind of go into the room, disable the traps and maybe legends that are hiding just around the corner. Really excited to see what players do with that. His ultimate is called the Mother Load. Fuse is able to target an area with his launcher, affectionately known as Wally. He launches a mortar that air bursts into a bunch of fire bombs that effectively surround the area in a ring of fire. Obvious use case is you're trying to trap players in there and take advantage of it. It forces the players trapped to make a choice to either walk through it and take a big chunk of damage. There's some tick damage as well after you run out of it, and slow, so it makes it punishing, but maybe it's the only choice you have to escape. Or you can hide behind cover, use your mobility to if you're someone like Horizon or Octane, maybe you can get your team out. The whole point is to take advantage of trapping players while they're having to make that choice. And I've also seen it used in other ways, like blocking off escape routes, or keeping people from rushing you. I've seen in a playtest surrounding yourself in the ring of fire, so you can have time to heal and have a bit of a safe space. But yeah, it's a really fun kit, and I'm really looking forward to players trying it out.
Very cool. Thank you, guys. So we can't wait for players. Get your hands on Fuse and tell us what you think of them, and we can't wait to see what you do with them as always, because you guys come up with stuff we never even think of, which is amazing with the characters. Next up, let's talk about another huge change to the game, massive map update. That's with done. I know players saw the trailer and they're like, you destroyed Kings Canyon. And it's actually kind of the opposite of that. All right, Rand, tell us all about it.
Okay, so I think our biggest focus and our major goal with the map is expanding the real overall size of it. This is the third time that we're returning back to Kings Canyon, so some challenges there with being the third iteration on the map. So we really decided to focus on that northwest edge of the map, which generally maybe doesn't have so much playtime with the current rotation. So that's kind of why we decided to dig into that. So instead of taking some stuff up and blowing it up, we destroyed the northern mountain range, which gives us a whole brand new area of the map to play with. And the ship that you saw in the trailer has crashed down. That's our brand new northern point of interest there. And that basically stands up to create more of a King of the Hill style combat experience, which is also surrounded by our new Echo Camp buildings, which are generally used to loot up and then assault the ship with. So just to the northwest of that, we used to have these slum lakes, and that's now been wiped off the map. And now we've got these spotted lakes, which have replaced and refreshed that area, I like to say. It looks a whole lot more lively now with the blue water and all that running through rather than the dirty garbage that used to be there. So the new POI in that area is our filtration dam. And this is basically set up to prevent all the toxins from leaking outside the map with the water, hence the water now being nice and blue and all that. That's our central landing spot in that area now. It basically splits that area in half. We have the echo camps there as well, which really are more of our close quarter combat experience that we're bringing to it. But the other side of the trench, more about sniper trench warfare, which it kind of was in the past, which we've really cleaned it up now with our observation towers, and which we'll get into a little bit later. And then on the rest of the map, we've decided to kind of go in there and clean up the destruction that the Leviathans had caused in the first update down the river. And they smashed a bunch of buildings and bridges and all the rest of that. So we brought some bridges back in the way of filtration devices, and we have 3 crossings where those exist on the map. We've got the Lagoon Crossing, which is across from the Hillside Outpost in the containment North Watchtower area. We've got the Cage Crossing, which is directly across from where the cage is. And then the Verdant Crossing, which is across from the Southern Watchtower in the south end of the map. So to go along with all that, we've got a bunch of new rotations in the map to make rotating different and new. So obviously with all this new space on the north side of the map, we've got 3 new rotations there. One that goes to the Spotted Lakes on the west-hand side. Directly south from the crash site leads you into the artillery tunnel, which connects to the Northern Watchtower, Cascades, Containment. And then on the east side, there was always a back wall in artillery that looked like it was going somewhere. Well, now it actually does go somewhere. So we've blown that out. So you got